For almost 20 years, I lived in 34 different countries without a permanent fixed home. And that taught me some things. I stayed in over 50 different places within 34 countries. And a lesson I learned: do we really need the very large homes we actually need? Hi, my name's Jeff, and I spent probably nearly 23 years working as a mechanical engineer in the United Kingdom and in different parts of the world, into Africa and into Europe and Holland. And I worked in oil refineries and oil piping, and also my final project was the Channel Tunnel project in the UK, where I spent 5 years as an incorporated mechanical engineer and designer. So that was my beginnings, but my life radically changed when I became a believer in Jesus. It transformed my heart, transformed my focus, and I began my second career. And my second career involved traveling around the world. So what happened was I gave up my home because it was all about people. It became about helping people become who they are meant to be. Talking freedom, talking life, talking things that would change a person's heart, because my heart was changed radically. And I began to move very differently and live very differently. So that motivation changed everything I do. Me and my wife, we gave up our home in Auckland, New Zealand, and we began to travel and teach and train young people, middle-aged people, older people, anybody who realized that there's more to life. And there are certain things that are very valuable in life and some things that keep you stable. So for that reason, I traveled. So it was a voluntary giving up of home, if you like. But through that, I learned some really important lessons. I lived with many different people, over 50 different locations in those years of nearly 20 years of traveling. And in the 34 countries, 50 different locations. I couch surfed. I lived in bedrooms. I lived in all sorts of spaces, small spaces without a roof of my own. So I learned some things and valuable lessons that I just want to pass on to you. But it shaped me as to why I'm actually doing what I'm doing now for Sweet Home Creations, and why I am so heart-driven to help people find affordable housing and roofs that fit their lifestyle. Small spaces, smart spaces, debt-free, clutter-free, and freedom for people. Okay, let me give you 5 lessons that I learned practically through nearly 20 years of living without permanent shelter. Number 1, community matters more than square footage. It is so important the people you connect with. It's not about the size, but it's about how you use the size. It's how you live in the size. It's how you utilize the relationships that you make that really count. So very often we've been brought up. I'm a baby boomer. So I was born in 1957. So what happened was we went into a system in the 70s and 80s where big, you've made it if you've got a big house in the country. This was in the United Kingdom. And it pretty much goes around the world. You kind of made it if you got big. But what happens is now these big are not so practical. They're not so fulfilling. And to be honest, they're very costly. So small living makes sense because it's about the community you live with, not the space you live in. And secondly, most homes waste space. I mean, I've lived in bigger ones in the past, and so much unused space that we don't need. It ends up collecting dust, or it ends up being something that you have to clean constantly. And really, that's no freedom at all. You're bound to cleaning this thing to keep it every day, every couple of days. And to be honest, that's not freedom. That's not life, and that's not lifestyle. So I learned that one particularly. You have to question, do I really need all this space? And really, a simpler home and a smaller home creates less stress. That's number 3. Less stress is simpler. Simpler lifestyle is less stress. Small living is less stress. Less stress on your wallet, less stress on your psyche and less stress all round for you. And that less stress brings greater relief, and it brings a greater freedom for you to live and breathe in your space that you live in. And something about freedom, number 4, freedom increases when cost of living decreases. It's kind of an obvious mathematical formula, but sometimes we overlook it. We're so entrenched in staying in the same place that moving looks difficult, downsizing looks impossible. How am I ever going to live without this, or this? You'd be surprised. I have downsized so many times, in times where I've lived for a longer season, perhaps up to a year in one place. That was long for me. Up to 1 year in one place. I gathered. And you know something? Once you gather, it's hard to get rid of. You end up thinking, how on earth am I going to live without this stuff? Guess what? You can. And number 5, small spaces can still feel like home. Yeah, I live in a small space. You can see part of it in the background behind me. I live in, 635 square feet. We actually developed and built a tiny home, which is 435 square feet. So that home, and when you see it shortly, you'll see how amazing it is and how great it is. It's a home that any one of us could live in. So for me, small homes make sense. And for many people in Canada and around the world are transforming and transferring to small homes because they make sense for the reasons I've mentioned, and they just make sense for your lifestyle. And we want a lifestyle that makes sense for sure. So through our sister charity, which is Home Sweet Home Affordable Housing, we've built one tiny home. And as you look through it, you can see how absolutely amazing it is. It's a miniature house. It's not a shed. It's not a container that you're living in. It's a home that you can call home. You can feel at home in your home. And I just want to walk you through some of this. Look at some of the things here that we've seen as we walk through the tiny home. You can see the living room, and then you walk into the bedroom, and then around into the bathroom, and then into the kitchen. So you've got 4 distinct units in this home, and it's quality. It's good quality. There's plenty of space. You've got amazing gadgets in there, and you can increase with the number of curated tiny home products that we have. And we're constantly finding them at Sweet Home Creations. We find products that are going to work for you in a small space, and then we put them on the website, and you can actually get hold of them through our website. Now, we're curated with Amazon Associates, so we get some of the profit, if you like. It doesn't affect your cost, but what happens is we get a little discount as an affiliate. So if you want to go through our website, that's great. And then everything through Sweet Home Creations helps Home Sweet Home Affordable Housing, which is the home that you've just been looking at, built through Home Sweet Home Affordable Housing. So that's the deeper mission. When you connect with us at Sweet Home Creations, you're connecting with people who need help. You're connecting with people who are living homeless and hidden homeless. Your every dollar and cent that you put in and purchase products through Sweet Home Creations, it goes towards Home Sweet Home Affordable Housing. Everything helps to build a home for somebody who doesn't have one. I lived 20 years nearly without one. I understand how it feels. Like I said before, mine was voluntary. For these people, it's not voluntary, but the feelings are still just the same. So all this that I've learned goes into making homes for people like you and like me and like those who are living without shelter, so they can have a place to live and a place they can call home and a place that is a place where they can breathe and live in freedom and develop their life. So explore Sweet Home Creations. Go to sweethomecreations.com. There you'll see opportunities to design your own home. Have you ever thought about downsizing? Have you thought about actually making a pocket home, we call them? Tiny homes, pocket homes, one that actually fits you. We have numerous designs. We have a great designer who can get on board and help design what you actually want. And then we have a great team of builders who build what you design and what you actually want. So you can end up living debt-free You can end up living clutter-free, and you can end up living with freedom. Jump on board Sweet Home Creations. Talk to us. My name's Jeff. Talk to myself or Vicky, and we will gladly help you walk on the journey. And we've got lots of other things available. If you want to actually think about something before you make a move, we've got a whole course. Well, it's actually called the Freedom Reset. And the Freedom Reset is available for you. So you can jump on board and take a look at that at Sweet Home Creations. Living smaller isn't living with less. It's living smarter. It's living in freedom. It's about making room for what really matters in life. Bye for now. See you next time.